if you're working with these on these projects, how often do you recommend people like bring someone like ABB in to double check that part I'm actually not aware of. Like I've been around like kind of the like the MCCs and that, but
Yep.
is it pretty regular that people need to be doing the inspection?
A lot of our customers go on a 3 to 5 year rotation, depending
Okay.
obviously on the facility and the production.
Yeah.
But typically every 3 years is a good timeline to kind of get into the switchgear and make sure that there's no problems. Check your cables, your load cables and such. Just make sure that there's no issues with the stress cones or any other issues. So
Yeah, one thing I'd add to that is anytime a customer or a client is making any sort of upgrades to their electrical system, adding in new loads, perhaps adding in new transformers, that kind of, you have to update basically all of the calculations and the analysis that you had performed originally.
Okay.
So, if there is some sort of shutdowns or upgrades that are happening that are going to be part of the, the cycle of the facility itself, then that's when we would then come in to help with that, basically.
Anytime if they're increasing potentially like how much load or like production they need for the electrical, then you might have to be going through that whole circuit.
That's right.
So getting into the equipment side, you touched on it there a little bit as well.
So this was a test that we conducted inside ABB at 50 kiloamps for 100 milliseconds only, right? Between switchgear that has the ultra-fast earthing switch installed and that which doesn't. And basically what it shows you, the amount of destruction that can actually take place inside your switchgear within just a matter of 100 milliseconds, right? So you see here, the primary switching elements are connected to the main bus bar, and that's the bus bars. And what they've done here is they've simulated a three-phase fault between the bus bars. You see that little string, the wire that's connected to all three phases. So this would not be the case in a normative sense. You don't want to have anything there, right? But because this is an arc flash test, internal arc test, you can see that that's how they do it. Now, these are the lens sensors. So this is what will detect the presence of overwhelming light in the compartment. And obviously the current, it's connected to, there's a CT input in the back of the unit as well. And now you'll see actually the internal arc test at 50 kiloamps for 100 milliseconds. And you see on two sides, one is on your left-hand side there, that's switchgear without the UFIS. And on the right-hand side, switchgear with the UFIS, right? So, and the next few seconds will show actually the amount of damage that takes place. So the first is the equipment without the UFIS, right? Switchgear without UFIS. And you'll see...
Doesn't look good.
The amount of destruction that's basically taken place. You see there's a lot of carbon buildup from, and this is just in, a tenth of a second, basically. This is the stuff that has happened in a tenth of a second. And for all intents and purposes, this gear is no longer usable, right? So basically now the customer, whoever has this installed, has to then replace it. And they have to, deal with the lead time, the cost, the installation, the engineering that goes into doing this type of an upgrade, basically, right?
Right.
And this is custom gear, generally speaking. So you're looking at a year's worth of lead time, right? So, and then this is a test with the UFIS installed.
Okay.
And where this will actuate in less than 4 milliseconds. You see the difference in the damage that's done with the UFIS and without the UFIS that you saw previously.
Yeah.
So you see it's a minimal amount of damage. I mean, you still see some carbon buildup there, but it requires maybe some minor refurbishment. And again, a lot of this depends on how severe the fault is as well.
Right.
This is the worst case that we're simulating here. It's a three-phase fault.
But you can see with the UFIS device, you've actually saved your switchgear.
Yeah, that's what's crazy is the other one's like basically blown apart. Yeah. That other one, it looks like it's going to be usable again.
You can go in there and do a bit of cleaning. Can do a bit of an inspection, switchgear inspection, some testing, and potentially be online. If you have the replacement parts for the UFIS as well, maybe in a week. Whereas the other situation, you might be having some long lead times, and your production might be down for a while because of the extensive damage.
And one of the things that kind of gets missed when you're just doing a video of an isolated section compared to a real world situation where you would have a long lineup, right, of this of switchgear, is that once this arc propagates, it's not just limited to that section, right? It goes through the whole switchgear. Your whole switchgear gets affected by it. So it's not just one section that you have to replace. You have to potentially replace 2 or 3 sections that are going to be adjacent to that where the arc originates. Again, depending on the severity of the arc itself, of the arc event.
Right.